When assessing what a student knows, construct relevance is essential. CAST researcher Tracey Hall explains construct relevance and construct irrelevance.
All assessment should be construct relevant. And I think a lot of thinking about construct relevance is understanding what that term means. And what we want to do in assessment is to assure that we're evaluating what the student knows and connecting that goal, that construct, to the assessment and really assessing what it is. And that's when that connection is made, you have construct relevance. If you cannot make that connection between what it is that you're asking the student to perform on and do and the goal of the instruction or the construct that you're assessing, then you can't make any conclusions about student understanding of that goal or content. As we create assessments as teachers or as assessments are created for us, occasionally we have examples of construct irrelevance. In other words, there's a measurement of something that isn't intended to be measured, but it may hinder the ability of the learner to show their knowledge of the construct that is intended to be measured. So a great example is a case in which we want to measure the student's ability to understand reading. If we want to measure the understanding of text, an avenue to measure that that's real typical is for students to read text and respond to that text in some way. And there are points there at which the construct itself, understanding text, may not be measured if the way in which you are asking the student to act on that information is confounding for them. So if writing the response to show your understanding of the text that you've read is the requirement, and the learner's writing skills is hindered in any way, that's construct irrelevant. You're probably not going to get a good measure of the construct. You're trying to measure understanding what you read, and you're getting a measure of an ability or inability to create text to demonstrate understanding of what you've read. A really interesting indicator of construct relevance is the typical spelling test. You get introduced to the words on a day of the week, and then you practice the words, and you learn up what they mean, and blah, 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 move forward, and then at the end of the week comes that spelling test, right? And in this particular classroom, the spelling text structure, this was fourth grade classroom, the spelling text structure was to receive a lined piece of paper and number the paper from 1 to 20 on every other line. And then the teacher dictated the word to spell, said the word in context, which is wonderful, and then dictated the word in isolation again, and the student was to write it on the appropriate line. The teacher went to the next word, and the next word, and the next word. And what happened for a student in this fourth grade classroom, who was generally a reasonably performing student, was a page with numbers quite strangely placed on the page. Some numbers were sideways, some numbers were definitely misplaced, and reversals were not prominent but existed. And for nearly every word that had been dictated, there was a character or maybe two on the page or on that line, and not often spaced well on that line. So in initially taking a look at this result of an assessment, one would think that this student does not know how to spell. Fortunately, and I'm not sure why, this teacher asked the student to spell the words for her and sat down with the student and said, well, the first word was, spell that word for me. And the student spelled every single word on the test out loud with 100% accuracy. So the representation of the student understanding or the ability to put the sequence of letters correctly together to spell the words in text was a serious challenge. And we would argue that that's a construct irrelevant. Might the student have been able to keyboard those in? Maybe. The student was definitely able to say it out loud in that order. So that method of measuring the student's understanding or the student's ability to spell words was not accurate for that student, and the inference to the construct was inaccurate based on putting text on page. It's kind of an extreme example, yet I think it really helps to illustrate that there are many construct irrelevant components to the ways in which we put measures together, and we need to be super cautious about what all of the requirements are when we're moving for a specific construct, in this case, the spelling of words, putting the order of letters correctly together.